Thank you, David. Thank you, Sarah. Jensen, we are in the capital of artificial intelligence.
You sure are.
Yes, and you are the leader. And you put out a number yesterday. I've never heard a CEO ever say, listen, we've got $1 trillion roadmap, and it's going to happen sooner? How is this possible?
Well, we're building AI infrastructure for the world. And it is very clear now that we're about $150 billion of AI infrastructure into a journey of trillions of dollars of infrastructure. And so we've got a lot of AI to build.
I was here last year. Totally different feel, different vibe. Felt there was a limitation to it. What happened in 1 year?
Well, in 1 year, we made AI better. It's smarter now. It can reason. We made AI more useful. Just about every industry and every company. All these companies are all building AI into their systems and into their products. And we've got a lot more energy and a lot more land and just so much more desire to build out these AI infrastructures.
There were people who just even a month ago were saying, look, there's an outfit in China that is going to eliminate a lot of what NVIDIA provides, and therefore NVIDIA's these chips are way too expensive. What I saw yesterday was that not even a factor in your thinking or anyone else's thinking. It was an abstraction. It was a distraction.
Well, it is true that these processors and these computers are quite expensive. They're quite expensive to make. And this is the largest chip in the world. It is the most complex computer the world's ever made. And so it's expensive to make. However, it saves you a mountain of money because it does work. Saves you a mountain of money because the amount of time it saves you, the amount of times the processing time it reduces is incredible. And number two, now because it generates tokens that you can monetize, the amount of money it helps you make is incredible.
Well, why just in the last 24 hours do I hear from GM? Do I hear from Disney? Do I hear from Cisco? Do I hear from BlackRock? Do I hear from CrowdStrike? Who all of them say, look, our partnership with Jensen is key to our future.
Well, AI is the foundation, the operating system of every single industry going forward. And the reason for that is, of course, everything that we do in life is underpinned by intelligence. And we create, what NVIDIA builds, is the infrastructure for manufacturing digital intelligence. Now, we're looking at this as one processor, right. But in our data centers, we announced a way yesterday to connect millions of these together using silicon photonics. And so we now have the ability to go from 100,000 of these things to millions of these things running in the data center at the same time. And that infrastructure, that factory, if you will, is the factory of the future.
Now, I do want to go for a moment before I go to robotics and autonomous vehicles. I want to put on my journalist's corrosive, sardonic hat and say, well, wait a second. What if the president puts 25% tariffs on and Michael Dell is slowed down? HPE, we talked about yesterday, they're slowed down, and it could put a limit, if not a cap, on your growth.
Well, we want to build, we're enthusiastic about building in America as anybody. And so we've been working with TSMC to get them ready for manufacturing chips here in the United States. We also have great partners like Foxconn and Wistron who are working with us to bring manufacturing onshore. So long-term, manufacturing onshore is going to be something very, very possible to do, and we'll do it incredibly
But the Chinese
scale.
are still a key partner right now. You have a lot of business. So I would say 17% of your business.
Yeah, in the near term, I would say in the near term, tariffs will not, the impact will not be meaningful, and.
But AI diffusion, that last initiative by Biden, which said really there are only 18 friendly countries that we want you to do massive business with, that seemed arbitrary, if not judgmental, in a way that I think you and I would say it makes no sense.
As you know, as you just look around here, there are companies from all over the world. AI's gone mainstream. Okay. AI isn't some magical technology. It's incredible technology.
Well,
but it's used for everything. It's used for healthcare and education and agriculture.
The stock of NVIDIA fell 3.4%. CEO Jensen Huang gave a keynote address at the AI chipmakers' annual GTC conference in California on Tuesday, introducing new and improved AI chips. At the beginning of his address, Huang stated that artificial intelligence has advanced to an unprecedented level. In a keynote address that lasted more than 2 hours, The CEO affirmed that NVIDIA will, as anticipated, introduce its next AI processor, Blackwell Ultra, in the second half of 2025. The chipmaker's current generation Blackwell GPUs, which saw delays and reports of overheating and malfunctions before reaching full-scale manufacturing during NVIDIA's fourth quarter and generating $11 billion in revenue, are followed by the Blackwell Ultra. According to Huang, the ramp of Blackwell's current generation GPU, which is currently in full production, is amazing. The demand from customers is amazing. The update, Blackwell Ultra, will be easy for us to adopt, he stated. NVIDIA introduced the GB300 superchip, which combines two Blackwell Ultras with one of its Grace CPU's central processing units in addition to the Blackwell Ultra chip. Huang said that NVIDIA plans to release Vera Rubin, its next AI superchip, in the second half of 2026, followed by Vera Rubin Ultra, the next generation superchip, in the second half of 2027. He responded, "We have a yearly rhythm of roadmaps that have been laid out for you." A decline in the company's stock that swept through Tuesday's wider market rout, driven primarily by large-cap tech stocks, was not stopped by Huang's remarks. The decline of NVIDIA Tuesday caused the AI chipmaker's stock to drop almost 14% so far this year. In 2025, NVIDIA's stock has seen a great deal of volatility. With a record closing above $149 in early January, shares got off to a great start to the year. When a new AI model from the Chinese company DeepSeek chopped almost $600 billion off the chipmaker's market capitalization in a single day and rekindled worries about an AI bubble, they fell. Following its fourth quarter results and increased macroeconomic uncertainties, NVIDIA's market capitalization losses from its record close reached $1 trillion in its most recent crash. GTC was supposed to be a wake-up moment for the tech bulls, according to Wedbush analyst and NVIDIA bull Dan Ives, who expressed this hope in a letter to investors on Tuesday. So what implications does this have for NVIDIA's stock? Let's explore that. But first, a big thank you to those of you who've stuck with us this far. Creating these videos takes significant effort and dedication, so if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts on NVIDIA stock in the comments. Your support truly helps us grow. Now, let's get back to the video.
To NVIDIA right now with Bernstein Research's Stacy Rasgon. He's on the ground at NVIDIA's conference. Stacy, great to have you with us. We were talking about NVIDIA and how, this is not necessarily the audience for it. I mean, Jensen had a lot of technical things to talk about. But in terms of answering the burning question of investors, and that is the CapEx spend picture in place? Is that steady? Is it rock solid? Did you get anything from what he said today to answer that?
Well, I mean, at this point, I don't think that we're seeing any signs that it's at risk. If anything, he gave us a view of the roadmap going forward for the next several years, and the performance improvement and the total cost of ownership improvement for the future platforms as you go from Blackwell to Blackwell Ultra to Rubin Ultra, and even talked about Feynman in 2028. We're talking another, I think, more than an order of magnitude improvements in performance and total cost of ownership for the next couple of years. It is going to be a very NPV positive thing for customers to upgrade. So I don't think we heard anything that Jensen said that would suggest that CapEx budgets are getting ready to roll over. And again, who knows? We'll see when we get there. But at this point, I thought it sounded great. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, there's still skepticism, though. I mean, that's the thing with investors. If you are a believer that there is a growth scare, that there is a recession on the horizon, can you be bullish, NVIDIA? I don't think that's outperforms.
I don't think that's an NVIDIA question, right? That's an everybody question. If we're going into a recession, I mean, semis in general tend not to do well in recessions. Again, there are some secular drivers here. I think they can hope to offset some of that. Clearly, the AI spending is happening. There are business models, cost reductions, revenue models that are starting to get built on this stuff. There's this whole long-term trend that he talks about as you move from sort of more traditional computing to accelerated computing, which is a massive cost saver. So there are other drivers. Again, in a recession, you want to save costs and dial back, and these are investments I think that can pay off. But I mean, if we go into a significant global or local recession, I don't think anything in semis does all that well. At least NVIDIA does have some of these structural drivers. And I've said this on the program before, but it's not even expensive. It's in the low 20s if the current numbers are, low 20s price to forward earnings if the current numbers are anywhere close to being correct. And like there's a lot of other things out there that are much more expensive that I think are likely to get hit just as bad or worse from a fundamental standpoint in a recessionary environment.
In general, tech stocks have been at the forefront of the current decline in the stock market. Concerns about inflation were heightened by President Trump's tariffs and DOGE-driven cuts to federal jobs, which caused the NASDAQ and S&P 500 to enter correction territory on March 6th. Ives added, "We do not believe this drastically changes the trajectory of the AI revolution. It is clear that we need stable Trump policy and that investors need to know the rules of the game, but that will all happen over the coming months." We think this week's NVIDIA GTC conference will be a turning point for tech stocks as the street starts to refocus on the AI revolution and the massive tech spending ahead for the coming years, he added. In a note to investors on Tuesday, Truist analyst Will Stein reiterated his buy rating and $205 price objective for NVIDIA, indicating his continued optimism ahead of GTC. Investors' primary worry, which DeepSeek Private exacerbated, is that NVDA's clients are currently using excessive amounts of AI computing power and will eventually go through a time of digesting, causing a cyclical downturn, Stein said as he recognized negative arguments against the AI trade. This dynamic is certain to us. Timing is the only uncertain aspect. We still see NVDA as the AI firm, he added. Its culture of innovation, ecology of incumbency, and significant continuous investment in software, training methods, and services are more responsible for its dominant position than the design, speed, or performance of its chips. To stay informed about the latest developments from NVIDIA and the ever-changing stock market, consider subscribing to our investing tutorial channel. We provide daily updates on significant market shifts and key catalysts, so hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss crucial information. We'd love to hear your thoughts on NVIDIA stock, so please share your opinions in the comments below. Now let's dive into today's video.
Shares of NVIDIA up slightly this morning, up by about 1%, but they did fall more than 3% yesterday. That was despite the company unveiling a next generation of chips by the company's CEO Jensen Huang. Joining us right now to talk about the key investor takeaways from NVIDIA's rollout is Gil Luria. He's D.A. Davidson's senior software analyst. And, you know, there were a lot of pretty cool things they talked about, Gil. I think the Blackwell Ultra and the mechanics of what it's going to be able to do, and then what's coming after that with the Vera Rubin chip is going to be the next year coming out. I mean, some of what they talked about was pretty spectacular, but I think your point is that the market was expecting all of that.
That's right. The progress that NVIDIA continues to make is very impressive. We're talking about a generation of products that's going to be 50% better than last year, and next year's generation is probably going to be even a bigger leap than that. But what's tough for NVIDIA is that the company that ushered in the era of AI, it's very hard to come up with the second act that meets those expectations. So even though their products are staying ahead of the competition, it's not enough to impress investors, at least not until they can show that this translates to continued growth at these rates, which again is going to be very hard to do given how fast this company's grown the last couple of years.
So what's the story with the valuation of this company? It goes up and down. What's the market psychology behind this? What's really driving things? And how much of this is a concern about what China was able to do?
No, that's definitely a factor. I'd say the challenge with NVIDIA is that the bull case is that they deliver on consensus expectations next year, in which case at 30 times they could trade at as high as $160. The bear case is this is peak demand, that there won't be a clean handoff from their top customers, Microsoft and Amazon, that have stabilized to another set of customers. And if next year's revenue declines, earnings decline, they'll trade at 20 times $3, that's $60. So there's a very big difference between the bull case and the bear case. That's why the stock's been so volatile and so range bound, is that all the evidence we're getting is that it's hard to look into next year and know for certain that NVIDIA is going to grow at all if companies like Microsoft and Amazon have guided for flat capex for the next 2 to 4 quarters. They really need a clean handoff to a new set of customers.
And with you having a neutral rating, you're not sure which case to believe.
That's right. That's right. We have to see the use cases materialize in a much more significant way. There have to be tens of billions of dollars of revenue from AI to justify the current level of investment we haven't seen yet. China has to stay a customer for NVIDIA chips. That may not sustain. There's new customers like CoreWeave that need to raise capital, SoftBank that need to raise capital in order to fulfill the demand that's going to be left by the hyperscalers. We have to see if CoreWeave's IPO materializes. That's too much risk to next year's estimates for us to be confident that they can continue to grow at the rates other analysts are expecting them to grow.
So, Gil, Jensen Huang said the industry is going to need 100 times the computing power to fuel what AI is capable of. And it's an interesting technology. Now, I mean, it's much more advanced than anyone would have thought at this point, but it's still kind of a novelty for me. I'm wondering what the world looks like with 100 times more computing power. And Jensen Huang also talked about that you'd have AI agents that can basically do everything you need done for you, whether it's booking a flight or making travel, whatever it is. Then I start getting nervous that if it can do everything that you're doing for yourself, eventually, why would we even need us for anything at that point? And I think that's the fear that some people have about unbridled technological advances. Do you know what the world looks like in 10, 20, 50 years?
Well, I think that's the operative question. What's going to happen the next 1, 2, 3 years versus what's going to happen in 20, 30 years? In the 20, 30-year time frame, yes, this type of technology will be able to replace a lot of the manual tasks, the administrative tasks that we're doing. We're all going to have a personal assistant that does all the little things around us. We're still going to have to do the thinking, the imagining, the managing, but all the manual and administrative tasks that we're currently doing, we're going to be able to outsource to a computer, to an agent based on this technology. In the next 1, 2, 3 years, we're mostly going to be using it for chat, for writing code, for self-driving cars, for things that are helping us become more productive, but not really changing our lives in that material of a way. And then in terms of the 100 times need for compute, he was really referring to a micro aspect of this. The reasoning models that are being introduced require a lot more compute when we ask them questions, but we don't need those models for everything. We need those for complicated research questions. So that's only one type of application that's going to be very compute intensive. In the short term, the models are actually getting smaller. The types of questions we're asking now will be able to be solved by much smaller models that will eventually be on our phones and computers, that we won't need this massive infrastructure to get. So
Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, revealed a number of new GPUs that would be released in the coming months on stage at the company's GTC 2025 conference in San Jose on Tuesday. Vera Rubin is arguably the most important. The Vera Rubin, scheduled for availability in the second half of 2026, will have a special NVIDIA-designed CPU named Vera and tens of gigabytes of RAM. NVIDIA asserts that Vera Rubin offers significant performance improvements over Grace Blackwell, especially on AI inferencing and training tasks. When combined with Vera, Rubin, technically 2 GPUs in one, can execute AI models at up to 50 petaflops, more than twice as fast as NVIDIA's current Blackwell chips, which can only do 20 petaflops. According to NVIDIA, the Groot N1's slow-thinking system enables a robot to sense and analyze its surroundings and commands, then determine the best course of action. The fast-thinking system, on the other hand, converts the previously indicated plan into robotic actions, including multi-step object manipulation operations. There is an open-source version of Groot N1. In addition to the model, NVIDIA is making simulation frameworks and training data generation blueprints available. Generalist robotics is here to stay, stated Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, in a statement. In recent years, humanoid robots have garnered a lot of attention. Businesses like Figure and X1 are working to build all-purpose robots that move similarly to people. Although there are many obstacles to overcome, these businesses assert that technology has advanced to the point where mass-produced humanoid robotic systems are a feasible short-term objective. That will be easier said than done, based on the numerous setbacks in recent robotics history. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
Price to earnings, you're right, but Dan just mentioned the competition coming, and obviously we saw a deceleration. Well, I mean, you probably were listening to some of the things that Dan said. I mean, we heard from Alibaba, we heard a month and a half ago about the DeepSeek things. I mean, clearly people are going down that road. Whether or not they can catch up remains to be seen, but they will compete on price. So I guess my question is, how concerned should we be about potential margin deterioration from here?
Again, I don't think it's about price. Like, the price of the chip is only one component of the purchase decision. What really matters is total cost of ownership. So that's the price of the chip and the power and the cooling and like everything else that goes into it over the lifetime of that chip's lifetime, based on what kind of performance you can get out of it over that time frame. And I think NVIDIA, I mean, even today, I mean, you can see where the dollars are flowing. They have the lowest TCO. And if you look at, again, the roadmap and the improvement trajectory that they laid out today, I think it's going to be hard pressed for many of their or any of their competitors really to have a significantly better TCO, and that ignores the fact like everything else that they're doing around software, around systems, hardware, ecosystems. They talked about co-packaged optics now that they're bringing into place, networking. They're the only ones out there with a full stack hardware and software solution. Like, nobody else has that. Like, I'm not terribly worried about their ability to compete.
Stacey, you know, it's interesting. You just said, what competition, with a big question mark, maybe two question marks after that. And, you know, when I look at the analysts, there's 76 that cover it. 70 have an outperform or buy on it. The average price target's $172. The stock's trading at $115. It's down 25% from its all-time highs. So there's a disconnect between what investors think and what Wall Street analysts think. And then when I hear a Wall Street analyst be really skeptical about any competition, we've all been doing this a long time. That competition comes from the place that you don't expect it. So I really want to focus on the disconnect between what investors see and selling it and versus what the analyst community thinks.
Sure. So first of all, it's not just NVIDIA. Like, there's been a broader degrossing. It's not just NVIDIA that's come down. I do think that, again, there was some nervousness. There was the whole DeepSeek thing, which, by the way, I think the only thing we've seen since DeepSeek was infrastructure spending going up, not down. And my view on DeepSeek, again, we may have talked about this, is I thought DeepSeek was actually good news, not bad news, but it is what it is. You know, you can look at where the competition is driving. There's other merchant suppliers. You have AMD, and I guess maybe Intel's still in there. And again, I don't think AMD. I mean, I even question the need, frankly. I mean, I you know, in terms of second source, I really do think it's going to be the hyperscalers doing their own chips. These are ASICs, and Google does TPUs and everything. I think it's the wrong time to worry about it. I think the right question to ask right now is not who's winning or losing between like GPUs and ASICs. Is the opportunity in front of it still big, or is it not? Because if it's still big, then they can both thrive. If it's not, they're both screwed, right? So I think you have to believe that we're not on the saturated part of the S curve now. I don't think we are. My guess is the market. I think I said this. It's NVIDIA's game to lose. Like, I think full stop at this point. They're not showing any signs right now that they're losing.
An AI-based model for humanoid robotics is being released by NVIDIA. The generalist model, known as Groot N1, was unveiled at GTC 2025 in San Jose. It was trained using both synthetic and real data. NVIDIA claims in a video unveiling the Groot N1 that it has a dual system design for both fast and slow thinking, which is modeled after human cognitive processes. NVIDIA's Project Groot, which was introduced at last year's GTC conference, has evolved into Groot N1. Groot N1 expands the focus to include humanoid robots in a variety of form factors, whereas Project Groot was designed with industrial use cases in mind. According to NVIDIA, the Groot N1's slow thinking system enables a robot to sense and analyze its surroundings and commands, then determine the best course of action. The fast thinking system, on the other hand, converts the previously indicated plan into robotic actions, including multi-step object manipulation operations. There is an open source version of Groot N1. In addition to the model, NVIDIA is making simulation frameworks and training data generation blueprints available. Generalist robotics is here to stay, stated Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, in a statement. In recent years, humanoid robots have garnered a lot of attention. Businesses like Figure and X1 are working to build all-purpose robots that move similarly to people. Although there are many obstacles to overcome, these businesses assert that technology has advanced to the point where mass-produced humanoid robotic systems are a feasible short-term objective. That will be easier said than done, based on the numerous setbacks in recent robotics history.